Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Congratulations on A Star Is Born.
Thank you so
Everybody's
much.
very excited about this movie.
Good.
Thank you.
Come sing that song, what I love.
No, I can't do that.
Here we go. Look at me. All you gotta do is trust me. That's all you gotta do.
Bradley, I wanted to start with you and ask what you wanted to do for your first movie that you directed. You were kind of keen on doing a love story, and how did you arrive at this one?
You know, I always knew I wanted to direct. I've always grown up making movies in my mind, and so compositionally there were a lot of things that were occurring. I would start to go to this Glastonbury Music Festival about 6 years ago, and I just loved the point of view of the stage. And it was just a series of events that occurred, and then Clint Eastwood was going to direct a version of this movie, and then that didn't happen, and I thought I was a little young at the point. You know, it was just so many. And then I got older. I went through American Sniper and Elephant Man, and then I said, you know what? I'm 40 times the biggest currency now, and I thought, you know what? You know, just stop saying you're going to do it and actually do it. And I had a point of view about a love story that I wanted to tell through two musicians. But it really wasn't until I met Stephanie that I knew that, okay, now I'm ready to strap on the oxygen tank, go hand in hand with her, and let's go up the hill.
When did he first bring this to you?
I actually performed at a cancer fundraiser for Sean Parker, and I was singing La Vie en Rose that night. And Bradley was in the, I almost called you Jackson just now. Bradley was in the audience. And the next day, he came over to my house to meet me. And it was really like instantaneous. As soon as I saw his eyes, we had this instant connection. And, you know, we're both from the East Coast. We're both Italian. You know, before I knew it, I was heating up some leftover pasta for him in a pan, and we were eating together. And then he wanted to sing together. So I printed out the song he wanted to sing, which is called Midnight Special. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous, of course. I had never sat down really with an actor of his caliber before, ever. And I started to play, and he started to sing, and I just stopped playing, and I looked over at him, and I said, oh my gosh, Bradley, your voice, you have a voice, you can sing, oh my gosh. It comes from his gut, it comes from the inside of him, you know, the nectar, you know, of his being. It's so soulful. And then he said, should we film it? So he took out his cell phone and he filmed us, and we started to sing together. And before I knew it, we were harmonizing and we were laughing and we were looking at each other. And I really truly knew in that moment, that he's the only actor in the world that could play a rock star. And I think it is a very, very difficult role to play if you don't do your homework and you don't understand the inner workings of the backstage area and the crew and in-ears and monitors and instruments, things like that. You're at a deficit. But he looked at everything. He wanted to know everything. And he was in the studio all the time with us when we were working on the soundtrack. He wrote music for himself for the soundtrack. I mean, I watched him be a musician, and it's just a testament to him as a consummate professional. Bradley,
was there any nervous, I can't imagine walking into Lady Gaga's house and saying, let's sing together. Like, was there any nervous in singing the duets with one of the greatest singers in the world?
Well, there should be, but the reason why there wasn't was because she was so present and kind and just disarmed me. And the greatest artists I've ever met in my life do that very same thing. You know, Clint Eastwood, you're around him for 2 seconds and all of a sudden you feel like he's a guy that lives down the block. Yeah. Same thing with Robert De Niro, same thing with Meryl Streep. There's just something about, I don't know if, when you've achieved that level of creativity and success in it, the confidence as a human being, I'm not sure what it is, but she made me feel so comfortable. And I knew going in that if we don't sing together, I'm just like an idiot, or there's no chemistry. I wouldn't even want to ask her to go on this journey. So, but it kind of just happened organically, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like I had this idea in my mind, maybe we would. I didn't know it would be 10 minutes into meeting her. You know? It kind of happened when I walked in the living room and I saw your white piano, and then we were outside and I'm like talking to you, I'm thinking, maybe we should just try it. And that's why I said, listen, do you want to just sing this song, which she had never heard, didn't know. And we taped it, and we only sang it once, and that was what I filmed. Just on my iPhone, right on the piano.
Do you still have the video?
Oh, sure do.
Uh-huh.
And it was part of what I showed to Warner Brothers to get the movie green.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The audience for this will be interesting because a big part of the audience will know this story. You know, they've seen it. It's been made 3 times before with Judy Garland. After that, Barbra Streisand. Way before that with Janet Gaynor. And then other people will be coming, and a lot of your audience especially will be coming to this cold. They don't know the story. So I want to ask, what is the story of A Star Is Born? What is the movie about?
I mean, the truth is, it's for you to say, and it's for everybody, all the viewers. There's a lot of different things that we were grappling with and investigating in this movie. Trauma, what it is to have somebody at your side, somebody who inspires you, what it is to be in a relationship in an honest way, what, you know, the true commitment, what that entails, what it means to be in a world where you're successful, with what you do is deemed successful. How does that affect you as a human being? All of these things are things in the movie that we wanted to tell and to investigate. But the truth is, it's up to you now.
The basic plot, for anyone who doesn't know, is you play Jackson Maine, a legendary rock star who meets a young, beautiful woman who has this incredible raw talent, and you help her in her career, and she becomes very famous, and he continues on a somewhat self-destructive path. Was there something that spoke to you about this story that you wanted to tell?
Oh,
for you personally, what resonated?
All the things I just talked about. I knew I wasn't going to direct a movie until I had a point of view, and movies have been healing to me because you identify with them. And the greatest thing is if you're identifying with somebody on a 30-foot screen. That's an incredible magic trick that a storyteller is able to do, as opposed to just admiring it. You actually are feeling something and connecting with it. So I wanted to create these very cinematic characters, and music was a great platform for that. But tell their story in a way that you as the viewer can completely identify with constantly throughout the film. And then hopefully at the end, either be healed, question, investigate, grow. That's what I wanted to do with the film. And the structure of the property itself lent itself to that.
Almost every single person has told me they liked the way I sounded, but that they didn't like the way I look.
I think you're beautiful. But you know, it's funny you said that this young woman wants to be a singer. You know, that isn't really our movie. Our movie is a 31-year-old musician who hasn't made it. She's not an ingenue. And she's sort of relegated herself to singing someone else's song in a drag bar. A songwriter who's singing someone else's song when we meet her. And that's very different. And he is somebody who is very successful. His fame's not dwindling. He's just aging, as one does, like a prize fighter. Starting to get tinnitus, happens to so many musicians. But his fame's not dwindling. He could still tour and make millions of dollars for the rest of his life. So it's definitely a different story in that way.
Lady Gaga, your character is Allie.
Yes.
Tell me what spoke to you about Allie. Why that character intrigued you?
What intrigued me about Allie is that she is nothing like I was when I started. I mean, when I wanted to become a singer and decided that I was going to really hit the pavement and try to make it, I really believed in myself, and I was banging down every door that I could and dragging my piano around New York City trying to get gigs. And you know, even after my first single came out on a record label, I was playing 3 shows a night, you know, in different states every single day. This is not who she is at all. I don't sing my own songs.
Why?
I just don't feel comfortable.
I was intrigued by her vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I was intrigued by the fact that this woman is given up on herself. She's depressed. She does not but believe in her beauty. She doesn't see herself as beautiful, and she's been, sort of jaded by her experience in the music industry, being told, over and over again that she's not good enough.
And I think people will be surprised at your acting ability in this. In the same, like you are holding a movie in the most, as if you've done it a million times before, in the same way that Bradley, when you sing, it is a wow moment at first. And then both of you seem, when you're watching the movie, very comfortable doing these sort of new things for both of you. But how much nervousness was there going into it for both of you?
For me, there was not nervousness because we really made a contract, together as friends when we first met and when we decided to do this. That he said, you're an actress, and I said, you're a musician, and we shook hands. And when you have that exchange with a collaborator, it makes for a very pure artistic experience. I've said this to him before, I've sang with a lot of different people, but sometimes you can be singing with someone and you feel like they're singing at you, or you're still just performing for the audience and they're not singing with you and telling the story. And I loved singing with him so much, and we did everything live. So, take after take, it was fresh and new, and I love his voice, and I loved the way our voices sounded together, and we found love through music.
The one thing I knew the talent, I knew the potential, but I also knew that it wouldn't really happen unless there was a tremendous commitment that was made. And the fact that it wasn't lost on me, she has a full life, a full career that has a lot of demands. And for her to take the time that she took to prepare and to commit to this project, it was a massive undertaking, and also a massive sacrifice in her whole other life. That, to me, as I said before, time is the biggest currency. The fact that she dedicated so much of her precious time to this project is the reason why it is what it is.
But that was a symptom of Bradley's passion. When you are working with someone who's better than you, you want to rise to the occasion. And I saw him giving it everything he had. Wanting to know everything about the music industry, wanting to know everything about the backstage, wanting to know everything about, being a musician. I was floored, and writing the script, and writing music, and directing, and acting. I saw and had such a privileged experience to watch him that I said to myself every day, you better bring it. And you better leave every last drop of blood on the floor of that scene.
How did it feel for you, Bradley, when because you sang everything live, which is part of the power of the film. You're not seeing somebody lip sync songs up there.
No, it's essential because the music itself is story. It's not as if we break and then we watch them sing together.
And the songs that you wrote fit
there's not
very
one lyric
specifically into
the moment. Yeah.
How did it feel for you? I think it was very early on when you first got up in front of 80,000 people with Lady Gaga to sing. How did that feel for you to look out at that sea of people, and you'd never done anything like that before?
I mean, the gift was, the first time we went on stage was the week in between the weekends that Stephanie did Coachella. And the first time was Dig in My Grave, a song that's on the soundtrack that didn't wind up in the movie. And that, I really sort of cut my teeth there, which was wonderful. That allowed me then because then we started to hop onto real stages, just stealing 8 or 4 minutes. But it was because I had that camaraderie on stage and that, okay, it's gonna be okay. And she's looking at me like I'm a musician, So when she's looking at me and believing I'm a musician, well, I must be a musician, honestly. And she doesn't lie when she's acting at all. I mean, it's like, if it's not there, she's not gonna pretend it's there. So that was wonderful to just stare across as we're singing this song, like, oh yeah, we're actually doing it. There's people listening and we're singing. It was kind of thrilling.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. The other thing that I noticed about this movie, many, many times in love stories and or romantic comedies, anything where you see two people fall in love, you often note that the falling in love part rings false, and often you just kind of go with it anyway because it's a fun story. In this, I could tell that you really took pains to make the falling in love between these two people very, very believable. And it's way more than someone saying, I love you. There were just these little moments. Can you tell me a little bit?
In fact, they don't say they love each other. The whole
Yeah, I mean,
he says
just,
it
as
once,
I said that,
he says it once
to me.
right before she goes on stage, and that's it. She never says it to him.
It's because it's not in the dialogue, it's in the way they look, it's in the close-ups of people as they do things or say other things. Can you tell me a little bit about how you conveyed that these two people were falling in love, just the techniques you used and the moments you used?
That really came down to script and structure. And because I knew if you don't buy into these two people, you're not going to be able to go on this very treacherous journey, you know, as it speeds up and starts to head downhill. You just won't be on board. And the idea rhythmically came out of, I mean, when I first moved to Hollywood and started to become friends with people who were very successful, I realized that a night out with them was not a night out with me and my buddies in Philadelphia. The access to go places and the night just takes us, I always found that so thrilling. I still can recall nights out where I'm like, wow, and then they go here and here. So I really wanted that to be a major part of their interaction. The night where he just picks her up and then they go on this night, who knows where it's gonna end up. And you often wind up at like pizza joints with a really famous person. You're like, oh, you do this too? I mean, there's so many elements of that I didn't know if someone who hasn't been in that world knows that exists. So that was the basic structure. I wanted a night out, but it's hard to start a movie in like almost real time. You kind of have a real time experience with them. It's one full night, you know. But in that, I thought, is really the opportunity to have a 20-minute sort of intro to them where we can really just take moments, because it's all about moments. And they both had to discover each other as musicians, true musicians, musicians that can inspire each one of each other and also be attracted to each other, and that there's chemistry. So those were the demands, and I just plotted them out. You know, he first hears her sing, he loves her voice, they have that connection when she's close to him. He's kind of bewildered at that connection, almost like, huh, wasn't expecting that. Then he goes backstage, still interested in her, but it's not until they're in the parking lot. But before that, she's like, recognizes who he is, like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But then when she goes out to meet him, for them to go out on the night to the bar, she hears him sing this song in this drag club and is completely moved and inspired in a way that surprises her. And then she surprises him in the parking lot when she sings this song that she wrote, and he realizes she has a lot to say. The very thing he said to her in the bar, he witnessed. So those were the sort of landmarks that I wanted to hit in that opening. And then, but I had the beauty of doing it with her, so it was effortless.
And it is, when she's singing La Vie en Rose in the bar, and they've never met before, but she's laying back, and it's a close-up on you looking at him, and that moment is really magic. And I think there's the build and those great moments together, but I was with it from that moment, just the look in your eyes, where you kind of stopped performing for a second and you just saw him.
Yes.
And there was the recognition, and then there was something else.
Well, she recognized him before that. If you look at the movie again, she notices him as she's clearing one of the lights. She looks down.
Oh, it's funny. I kept wondering, has she noticed that?
Yeah, she notices
the
him
biggest
there.
rock star in the world.
Yeah,
is
and
there?
then she says, I thought that was you.
I can't wait to see the two of you answer these together. So this is called the Kegel exercise. And you just, because my name's Jess Kegel. Anyway, it's just fill in the blank.
Love it.
And I will let Lady Gaga ask you to fill in the blank, and then Bradley, you fill in the blank, same question. And you can answer for each other if you want. And you feel free to skip questions if you want to do that too.
Okay.
Nothing's bad.
Skip.
I knew you'd do that. Close friends describe me as
Kind.
Close friends describe me as. I mean, that's a hard thing to answer. I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
only I know that I am.
Doing my very best.
I'm going to be very bad at this.
No,
'Cause
you
I
won't be
literally
bad
look
at it.
literally at I'm pretty transparent. I don't think only I for anything. I mean, this person, she knows everything about me, every single thing. So the answer
As do
is
you.
yeah. So the answer is there is no only I.
The song that always makes me dance.
Thunder Road. Bruce Springsteen.
Right now, it's Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel.
The movie I've seen the most times is.
The Wizard of Oz.
That's a tough one. I can't, I don't know which one passes the other one, but I mean, Unforgiven I've seen 100 times.
What's the other one?
Oh man, Once Upon a Time in the West, Shampoo, Life Lessons. I've seen, I love movies, yeah.
Moonstruck, too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Moonstruck. Notting Hill.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so can we ask you now?
No. But I'll answer if I want to.
Wow, you got all the power.
Damn.
Yeah, I feel like I have so much power.
And this Kegel question's really fascinating.
This is easy. I start every day by doing.
I like to take a moment for myself outside and to just look out into the world.
Meditation.
Last question. When we're done here, I would really like to.
Eat.
Did he take your answer?
No, she just knows.
We just said at the same time exactly. I meant take a bath.
All right. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so
just-
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.